So I just took some nice thin cordage and tied it to the shape that I wanted it. Doesn't have to stay this way. Once I get this cut out, I will then sew this semi-tightly, but I don't want it too loose to where it expands and becomes nothing, but I don't want it so tight that it's rigid and hard, because I like a fluffy pillow. So all I'm going to do is just measure this out.
Is it white and fluffy or just fluffy?
You know, color doesn't really matter much to me.
Good answer.
So we're gonna go like here, and all right, let's see here. There we go. So we're gonna take it off with a tripod. All right. So there we go. So just rolled up in there. I think I'll cut it about right here, and then I will sew it inside out so that any kind of stitching will actually be in there. Okay, so I have it cut. Here is the beginnings. This is the first one I'm going to put in there. It's just a blanket rolled up. Here's the piece of fantastic hide that I'm going to sew around that. Now eventually, if this doesn't suit my purposes or wears out, or I come up with something else I want to put in there, I can always take a stitch out on one of the ends and open it up and fill it with something else. There's so many things that I could put in there, but we'll see. Right now we're just going to keep it as a blanket. I'm just going to roll this up into here, and clearly that's not the direction I originally had it in. There we go. Bingo bango. Alright, it's going to roll up into this nice little bag like this. I'm going to sew it. I'm going to sew it up this way, and once I get that done, I'll show it to you. It's not going to be anything special. I'm not really great at sewing, but I do enjoy it. So I'm going to put it on backwards. I'm going to have the dark side out. Which side do you think looks cooler?
That side.
The light side as being out versus it looking like that?
Yeah. I don't like that.
You don't like that? I'm trying to debate because I do.
It's your pillow. You don't
I know it
pillow,
is
baby.
I know it's my pillow. Yeah.
Excuse me. Are you giving me tood?
I'm not giving you two, dear.
Okay.
Okay. You know, I'll be honest, I like the darker side. So I'm going to leave it darker side out. And basically, I'm just going to sew it from the inside like this. Just sew it down here, and once I get it completely sewed, I will do one end, and it'll be like this here, sewed, and then sew the top, however I get it, boom boom, and then once it's complete, it's going to be a nice sewn bag. Now I could put like a zipper or something modern in one side so that I can replace it, but I don't want to do that. I want to keep it as primitive as I can, and I just think sewing it like this is going to be better than doing it with a zipper or something else. So again, stitching is just going to however I decide to stitch it. Okay, here's one of my needle containers, and I'm gonna pick a pretty decently thick one. Let's see here. Yeah. I guess that first one I pulled out will work. Alright, I'm going to use this needle here, and unless I can, wait, let's dig down in here. Ah, yes. I might use this needle. I'm not 100% sure. I've got another one in here that's really been used a lot. It's really jaggedy, and there it is. This one, as you can see, is, you know, it honestly and truly used to be as straight as that. And I use this one for all sorts of stuff. I might start by using this one. Yeah, as you can as you can tell, this is actually one of my favorite needles, and it is jacked up. But I use it a lot, so I'm probably going to start with this and see if it works. Because, be totally honest, I don't like to jack up any more needles than I have to. And if I'm using a needle and I end up getting it messed up somehow, I tend to stick with that needle until it's completely ruined. Now, as far as cordage is concerned, I have a small wrap of waxed bank line that I tear apart into about 3 or 4 different pieces, and I use that to sew with for the most part. So that's what I'm going to start with, and we'll see how that works. I do have some fake sinew. It's not actually real sinew. It's imitation sinew.
It's manufactured.
Manufactured. But I do use it on occasion too. But I'll be honest, I really like this waxed bank line as cordage when I'm sewing things. So let's just get started. Again, I don't have any particular way any stitch that I necessarily use for any particular thing. I just kind of stitch it, and I'll probably just, I don't know, I'll stitch it however I end up stitching it. I'll be honest, I have no idea what I'll do. Okay, so I began to start sewing, but this needle and none of my other needles are going to go through this hide decently without really having to force it. So I got my rotary hole punch. I put it on the smallest hole possible, and I ended up testing it right here, and it made a very nice round small hole that the needle fits through, and it doesn't really create like too much space. So that is going to be how I'm going to sew this. I'm going to go through and make holes and just kind of line them up the best I possibly can, because I'm going to have to do it through 2 of them, and we'll just see how it works. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing I ever do has to be precise or perfect. It just has to be usable, and it has to work for the purpose. And all I want this to do is make a nice little soft space for my head. And even if the holes don't line up exactly, it's still going to do that. So I'll get right back with you. So I've come up with a couple issues. I do have a section of it sewn already, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the holes in the top layer all the way up, and then I stick a pin in there and mark it, and I put a mark on the second layer with ink that I need to put holes in. So what I'll do is I'll be able to put the holes in the top layer, then I put the holes in the bottom layer, then I'll sew it together, and that way it'll still be a tube. So right now I have this latched up with the cordage so that I have the size that I want, and I still have the blanket in there. Once I start sewing it more, once I get all the holes in it and start sewing it, actually I can take the blanket out, and that way I can sew the tube without the blanket being in there, and then I can just adjust the blanket once the tube is done and shove it back in there. But right now I want to leave it where it's at so that I have a mark of where I want the holes to be and the size. So we'll continue on. I'll make the holes and mark them, the second sheet, make the holes, and then start sewing that all together into a tube. Okay, so I have the holes in both sides, And basically what I'm doing is I'm going down through both, and then I'm going back up through the previous one that I went through, tying it a knot, and I'm just keep doing that. Now, I'm sure there's a name for that. I don't know what it is. I just know that's how I'm doing it. I generally don't necessarily need to know the technical name for something to know how to do it, and it works. So that's basically what I'm doing. So I'm putting holes like so, like say these two are holes. I go down through there, I go up through this hole, and then I go back down through it, and then I tie it, and then that's how it works. So we go down through one hole, go through the other hole, and then on the way back up, I go through the previous hole that I'd already stitched, just like that, as you can see. And then I circle that loop once or twice that I make. So 1, 2, usually I go 3. And then I tighten it up, and then I just continue on to the next loop, then back it up that other loop and just keep going. And eventually this is what it looks like on the inside, or the inside. And it's not going to be super straight, I'll be honest. I'm not really concerned about straight or the way it looks. And then on the outside it's going this way. So regardless what it looks, as a matter of fact, the more natural and uneven and odd that it looks, the more I'm going to like it, because it's going to look more primitive. So that's basically all I care about. I want it to look really cool. So I thought real quick I would show you exactly what I'm doing with this stitch. If you can kind of see it, it's going to be kind of difficult. So we are tubing it, and it is inside out. So basically I'm going to go down through this hole. I'm going to align it with the adjoining hole in the bottom one. Goes through both and out the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it. I'm going to go back through the previous hole that I went through. And come back up just like that. Now that's going to create this loop right here. When I do that, I'm just going to go through it about 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Pull it through, and then I just tighten it up. And that's all I'm doing all the way through. So we don't have too much done, but it's becoming easier. Of course, the longer I do it, the better it seems to be working for me. But once I get it done and I turn it back through, as you can, I don't know if you can see the line that's going down, but it's not too bad. It is a little, and it's not exactly a straight line, but I don't want a straight line. There's no such thing as a straight line in nature, and I try to do everything I possibly can in accordance to true and actual laws of nature. And there's no such thing as a straight line in nature. So anyway, I'm having a fun time. I'm enjoying it. I'm sitting here, I'm sewing. I've got an old 1955's pirate movie playing on the TV, and wife's sitting over there watching YouTube or playing on her phone and having a good time. So we're going to continue, and I'll get back with you when I get this entire tube done. Alright, so I'm on the very last stitch for the tube, not for the whole project. Go ahead and put a couple stitches in there to finish it off. There we go. Now, it's been tubed, so we're going to turn it inside out real quick. And there we go. So it's not a bad stitch. I mean, I didn't do too bad with it. Of course, like I said, it's not super straight, but I don't want it to be super straight. There's an amount that's hanging off here that could be cut, but we're not going to concern ourselves with that until we need to. So I'm going to turn it back inside out. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we are going to sew one end off. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is try to even this up straight, because it's all jaggedy and crinkly and all this kind of stuff right here. I think I'll make a straight line across and then sew one side down, and then I'll just make the pillow fit this, and then I can sew the other side down if I want to. I may not stitch the other side. That way I can pull my pillow in and out and I can use it for other things. It's going to make a great little bag once I get one side, get the bottom of it sewn up. It'll make a fantastic bag. What I'll probably do is once I get this evened up on the bottom here, where it's one straight line, I'm going to whip stitch it. And I'll just go in it, over, and just continue to do that until it makes that whip stitch all the way across. And then I'll go ahead and stick my pillow in there. I did consider doing a whip stitch originally. Probably been a lot easier just to, again, even this side up, cut it so it's even, and then whip stitched it, which I could have done that too. It doesn't really matter. I actually kind of like the way this looks now, so the whip stitch isn't necessary. But I am going to whip stitch the bottom part. I'm not going to do that right now because Michelle is in need of my assistance in the bedroom, or the storage room. I should call it a storage room because that's what it is. To adjust some of her stuff so that we can get all of her stuff, which is behind me here, in the large room in the closet, which is a huge closet. As a matter of fact, it's big enough to put a bed. Someone could actually live in that little closet, or that big closet in there. So anyway, that's going to be the end of it for now. Alrighty, so I've cut it generally somewhat even, and I am whip stitching it. So I've got the holes on either side, and all I'm doing is running it through those two holes so that it goes over the top, doing my 3 wind there, and then tightening it up, and then just going to the next hole. Just like so, and then tightening it up, and it'll stitch like that. Now this is all going to be on the inside, so it's, the nastiness of it isn't really necessary or important, because as I said before, I do everything by function and ability of making it work. It doesn't have to be pretty and professional looking. As a matter of fact, I like it to not look that way. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead. It shouldn't take me too much longer to get this end done. And as I said before, I've already decided that I'm probably not going to secure the other end, and if I do, it's not going to be in a permanent way. So I'll figure something out. If I decide to seal that off in some other manner, I will, but I just don't think I'm going to be totally honest. I think I'm going to leave it open, and we'll see how that works. So I'll get this sewing done and I'll get right back with you. Alright, so the last 4 stitches on this is coming up. There's 1. 2. 3, and then the last stitch is right there. Let's put another one in there. Have it go right up on the top. There we go. Good. And then we'll run a little bit through here and just tie a couple knots just as soon as we get this redone. There we go. Run an extra knot right here. There we go. Just a few extra knots just to make sure that it stays decent and secure. Let's do one on this side, making an even, well, an uneven 3. There we go. And there we go. And that's tied off. Now, again, it's not fantastic, but it does serve the purpose. Now, let's take this bag that we now have, turn it right side out. There we go. And bingo bango. Now this right here, I think I'm going to trim it off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And there we go. So now all we need to do is just shove the blanket down in there, and let's see what we got. I may have to tighten the blanket up a tad bit, and as a matter of fact I kind of hope I do, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tighten this blanket up, so I'm gonna get this. Okay, that worked. So I just tied it up again and then just shook it until it fell in there. Look at that. There's my pillow. Oh, this thing is fantastic. Now if I want to, I can make a little something or other here, especially if I'm going to turn this into like a bag or something. I can put maybe a cordage here and a button down here or something like that to latch it up. I'll figure something up. But for now, that's not necessary. Here's my pillow. Handmade from fantastic suede leather. And just a blanket, rolled up blanket thrown in here. And so there it is. So again, just got a little blanket rolled up in there. Oh, that's gonna be so nice. All right. Oh man, oh that's fantastic. That is so fantastic. Thank you guys for watching Bentley's Backwoods Bushcraft. Enjoy the outdoors, even if it's just your front room couch.